Welcome back to Foregone Trails. Apparently this thing is going to be so nice because I'm doing it twice. Well, why am I doing this twice? Or what am I doing twice? I guess we haven't even gotten that far. When I put this whole thing together, my big plan was to use as many stock Jeep Cherokee parts as possible. So coil springs, leaf springs, all of the pieces that I could reuse from the original Cherokee that I built to put this together. With that, the stock Cherokee leaf springs are super tired, really worn out, and I need a better solution for the back. When I built the bump stops a few videos back, you can find that link somewhere around here, I had everything done. I thought everything was going to ride really nicely, but since then I've started working on the roll cage. You can see I've added the hard top up here, a lot of little extra weight. I filled the gas tank full with 25 gallons of fuel. I've driven it around, the springs have settled, and now the springs are doing a few things that need to be fixed. The first thing, you're starting to get a little bit of negative arch. And so when that happens, it starts to look a lot like this. And so you can see that the springs are arching in a negative fashion. Then from there, it's also arched so bad and sagged that the bump stops are actually riding on the springs the entire time, limiting suspension travel, giving it a little bit rougher ride than it should. And I need to solve those problems. So to do that, let's go ahead and get these leaf springs pulled, and I'll show you what the new leaf springs look like. So to hopefully solve all my problems, I actually was able to find a set of leaf springs from my dad. He had a set laying around when he built his Jeep that he was no longer using. And so I've taken those, and let's look and see what those differences look like in regards to the lift size. The original set of springs with no weight on them is giving me about 8.5 inches from the ground to the spring. And the new set's gonna give me right at about 10.5 inches. So these are roughly 1.5 to 2 inches of lift spring. And I think once I get those installed, it's gonna solve all of my problems. All right, without further ado, let's go ahead and get these lift springs installed. Okay, so now that I've got the new lift springs installed, I think it's gonna hopefully solve all my problems. I'm no longer sitting on the bump stops, got a little bit more clearance. The springs aren't in that negative arch pattern like we were talking about earlier. So I think overall, these springs are totally gonna solve a big part of what was wrong in the back of this suspension. So now originally the rock rails were sitting about 22.25 inches from the ground with the stock springs. After installing the new springs, I'm sitting at about 23.25 inches. So overall, the springs netted me about 1 inch of lift over the originals. You know, I really wanted to keep the center of gravity really low on this build. I think that's not going to be a problem still. You know, that 1 inch, it really looks fine. Is that what she said? You know, I think it's going to be totally fine. I don't think that 1 inch is going to be sitting me up way too tall. Now, if I did want to go back to a stock lower ride height, I could just install stock springs, or stock shackles. So the shackles in the back of this are actually like 1 inch lift shackles. And so if I go back to a stock shackle, it'll actually lower me back to the height I was at before. My big concern there is that I might lose a little bit of travel. With these extended shackles, it's going to give me a lot more droop on the suspension cycle in the back. Currently, I'm running about 9 inches of travel with the shock. So it looks like a full droop. It's got to be about 9 inches down. So that's full shock droop, matching the full droop of the shackle here. So when I set these up, I usually like these to be a little bit forward of 90 degrees. The problem is when I built this, that the shackle now is going to hit the front of the shackle box. So to get it where I'd want it in this hole, I need to go ahead and clean this part up here. But really this is pretty close to 90, so I think I'm going to be okay. I don't think it's really ever going to invert, anything like that. But I should, so at full droop, I've got 9 inches. So then let's go ahead and see what it looks like at ride height, and that'll let me know about how much up and how much down travel I have out of this entire package. At ride height, I've got about 3 inches of up travel, and then with it at full droop, I'm using all 9 inches of the shock. So really what that means is that it's giving me about 6 inches of droop, 3 inches of compression. I think sitting at this lower ride height like this, that's going to be totally great travel numbers for what this vehicle is going to be meant for, which is going to be mostly cruising, camping, light four-wheeling. I think I'm going to get a lot of usable travel out of the back. I think 9 inches is pretty solid for a set of leaf springs. Again, we're going to kind of see if all that works out, but overall, I think I'm really happy with the way that's going to sit. I need to chest it out a little bit. When I built the bump stops, I do have some options to drill some holes, raise it up so I can get some more up travel out of it before I hit the bumps. But again, I really wanted to avoid going too far into the negative arch with the leaf springs. I also want to make sure once that bump is compressed that I'm not getting too close to the fenders, anything like that. And so I'm going to leave it where it's at for now. Have to get out, cycle the suspension, do all that before I really know if this is the final solution. But I think I'm going to be really happy with this. And like I said earlier, it's going to be nice because apparently I'm doing it twice. All right, yeah, overall, that's all I had for today. I hope you guys enjoyed seeing me update, fix what had previously been done wrong by myself with the leaf springs. I think the ride height's going to be perfect. I think everything's going to work out really nicely. And I've still got lots of room for adjustment and flexibility in the future if it isn't exactly what I want. Guys, thanks for watching. As always, like, subscribe, do the things.